Hey, Terrible Warriors. This is the 5th episode of our Spire campaign, and that's coming right after I say a few of these quick words. Listen to them, they're pretty important. The world's on fire, and I get it, it's probably hard for you right now as well. And James Gates, a tabletop writer who we really admire around here, posted some, dire predictions about the future of independent tabletop RPGs. They're going through a very tough time right now with distributors and finances and their employees, and, she listed 5 or 6 things that you can do right now to help out these games that you enjoy right here on Terrible Warriors, because we don't play D&D, we play indie RPGs all the time, and I really want them to still be around a year from now. So, if you have the money, buy the PDFs. Buy as many PDFs as you can from as many different labels as you can muster. If it's from their website or if it's from DriveThruRPG, send gifts to your friends. Buy those reading materials wherever you can. The second one is to still put in orders for those physical books. Even if the distribution centers are shutting down, those books are still going to get made. They are still going to get shipped. So put those orders in, understanding you're going to be waiting a while to get them, but help keep that machinery moving. 3, if you don't have the money, do what we're doing right now and share this message far and wide. Tell as many people as you can that this industry that we love, this hobby that we are all spending more time on right now, really needs your help. For the full list, check out our post on our Facebook page at facebook.com/terriblewarriors. And if you have a game that you enjoy that you would like us to know about so that we can help support them, you message us on Twitter at Dice Warriors. The Spire, the game that we're playing right now, is an independent RPG from Rowan, Rook, and Decard. You can find a link to their store in the show notes, where if you like this game that we're playing, consider buying the PDF. Give it a try. It is a very cool setting, and it is very fun to read. And today, on the Terrible Warriors, the arena is in shatters. Naros and Jairi have disappeared into the Vermissian Way with a small squad of gnoll freedom fighters. But what about those left behind? What about those dealing with the fallout of such a brazen escape? You see, Lysanna and Liminal are still inside Derelictus, and Derelictus is in chaos. But when everything is out of control, and it looks like it's about to teeter off the edge, that is exactly when the ministry of our hidden mistress makes its move.
In the streets of Derelictus, it's absolute chaos. After the breakout in the arena, after the gnolls have gone missing, after Jairi's great disappearing act, everyone is talking about what happened at the arena. The arena is closed for repairs with all of the debris from the cavern ceiling that has collapsed into the groundwork. People were injured. There's rumors that people were killed. There's rumors that gnolls have escaped. Prisoners of the arena have escaped, and they are roaming through Derelictus, and they are going to kill you in your sleep. The city watch in Derelictus is 12 strong on a good day. The city watch is all but abandoned and used as a bad joke to send guards down to Derelictus when they need to learn a lesson, and they are overwhelmed. And the city watch has closed themselves off. They've closed their doors, and they're going like Assault on Precinct 13, where they're being besieged, and they're not out in the streets. The people out in the streets looking for the missing gnolls is everyone else, because Mr. Winters has issued a bounty. See, the gnolls were under the invitation, or under the protection, or under the responsibility of Mr. Winters. The gnolls themselves were Aelfir prisoners of war, yes, but they were released to Mr. Winters for use in the arena as part of a cultural education practice program to help meet the gnolls that we're fighting these wars against. And Mr. Winters was not to let those gnolls escape, not under any circumstance. And now Mr. Winters' power and influence and respect in Derelictus has been threatened. There are other organizations in Derelictus. The other big one would be the Three Sisters that run Threadneedle Square. And all of the other up-and-coming criminal organizations are taking advantage of this supposed weakness from Mr. Winters. So he has doubled down. 5,000 sten to the first drow that can offer the location of the gnolls. 10,000 sten to the first drow that can bring proof that the gnolls have been dealt with to Mr. Winters. And so everyone, that's enough money to get you out of Derelictus. That's enough money to get you a flat on the South Docks. That could get you out to the market. That could get you out of Spire. Get you out of debt. It could set you up. And so those members of the population now roam the streets. Torches and pitchforks, right? They're kicking doors in, moving through storefronts, markets, homes, hotels, anywhere, tipping over beds, pulling back the floorboards, convinced that you're hiding things. Now, of course, it's Derelictus. Everyone's hiding something. That's why they ended up here. So it's a turf war. When this is all done, the territories between the organizing families will be changed. And one day, Arena will open up again, and maybe Mr. Winters will be the one in charge. Lysanna, we last saw you outside the Slot and Tackle, going your separate way with our sage Nerus. Nerus went off, found Jairi, did a thing, and now you're walking down the streets and you are hearing windows smashing and doors being kicked in. You see the roving groups of vigilantes, a neighborhood watch, in a way, acting as an inquisition. You're hiding gnolls, right? Anyone hiding a gnoll is being dragged out into the street. Some people are hiding gnolls. There are gnolls in Derelictus, and it's not pleasant, the things that you're seeing. The Robotnik rocket, fire rocket, ran. You actually see him being dragged out, being like, that's not a gnoll, that's just an old Gurkin, he builds my rockets! And they're smashing his workshop, and they're throwing things out into the street, and he's being dragged out into the mud. You see...
and I feel sorry for him. Like, I'm sad looking at him.
You see the Slot and Tackles on fire. Abandoned with that one gutterkin cleaning it up. There was no one there to put it out, and it's the kind of fire that starts to happen in Derelictus where it might spread to other buildings, but everyone else is too afraid to get near it or to do anything, so people just watch as the ceiling then collapses in on it. And I guess there's, what was his name, Stan, with the water pump just slouching out the gross trash water.
Yeah,
that pump just lies empty. And it's just kind of sitting there with a little bit of that oil dripping out. As you're walking through, you're trying to keep your head down, right? You need to get out of Derelictus, but the choke points are being closed, and you don't know where the nearest back door is. I mean, you do. It's in Vinny's room, but Vinny's run by Mr. Winters, and they're looking for sages. And you see posters for Jairi, the idol. It's not a playbill anymore. It's a wanted poster for the bounty. His face is all over it. They don't seem to be looking for a Nerus because, as rumor would have it, it sounds like whoever disappeared with the gnolls was dressed up in harvest armor, was dressed up as them, so his identity seems to be kept intact, but you know who it was.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing?
I guess I'm trying to find a way out of here. As you mentioned earlier, so the only door that I know of back into the Vermician Way was Vinny's bathroom. So
and that took a lot just to run out of that.
Yeah, that took some it took some luck just getting out of that. So to get back in there is going to be difficult.
I mean, there are the stairways, ladders, and bird travel and waterways that can get up to the South Docks and then up into the rest of Spire, but those places are being checked, and they're looking for members of the ministry. They're looking for gnoll sympathizers. They're looking for anyone who doesn't really belong in Spire. And while you might be able to make your way through there, just as you have been checking out, the lineups are long. People are trying to get out of Derelictus, and it's like a delayed border crossing. and the guards are closing the gates and they're not letting people through. And so the place is just turning into a pressure pot as Derelictus just continues to slowly spiral out of control. And as you're keeping an eye on that gate, you see 3 of these Mr. Winter's associates, hoods, dressed like friggin' medieval thieves, right? But they point out in your direction, and they look at some kind of piece of paper, and someone kind of like hits an elbow into the other one, and they nod, and they start working their way through the crowd in your direction.
Okay. What's around me?
Crowds of people.
Yep.
There's homes, doors closed, windows shuttered. And when I say homes, I mean they're mud and stone, and some of them are carved into walls or built on top of other older buildings. It's all very ramshackle, right? It's a slum more than what you'd see up in the middle city with more well-to-do houses. Think Mos Eisley, right? Yeah. It's kind of like this look to it, and a lot of it is a lot of the architecture in Derelictus is also built kind of cave-like into its surroundings, and it's built for purpose, not aesthetics. And you don't have to worry about shelter, but you do have to worry about warmth and privacy and security, and so that's what those things are built for. Less about these buildings wouldn't be built with tiled roofs for rain, because it doesn't rain, but there's fog and gas and smells, and as I was describing, Derelictus it's a very hazy. There's always a smell and a stench and a fog that kind of hangs over Derelictus. You don't see the cavern ceiling. It's more like clouds with stalactites sticking through them, and you can see the torch lights all around them from those that try to live up their perch style on the ropes and ways. And so there's lots of that, and you're under the foundations of Spire, so there's lots of steel girders and things that are used to reinforce that the retro engineers, the humans, are showing up and are reinforcing the foundations of Spire to keep it stronger as they continue to build out on top of it. And so that's led to there's some like mining elevators that move up and down into different levels of even in Derelictus, and you hear like a town square bell going off further in, where there are like villages that have been built down here from ancient times when the Drow were in control of Spire. Derelictus might have been a place that was used for communing with their underground nature. This wouldn't have been a bad place to visit 800 years ago. This might have been something that would have been used for the priests, or for the matriarchs, or for the where the eggs might have been. It could have been a hatchery. All of that knowledge is long gone now. So around you immediately, you got lots of crowds, lots of people trying to get out of the gates, but they're being told no one's coming in and out, and people are screaming at that. And there's a lot of people just with whatever they've got in their hands. A lot of homes closed off, stores closed down, and the light of the fire, the slot and tackle, and that smoke adding to the haze in the sky as these associates just start moving up towards you.
Yeah. Okay, so I see these guys coming towards me. I just kind of want to try and find a way to kind of like duck and find cover, find somewhere to hide, try and sneak my way out of this. I want to get like out of sight of these dudes.
New session, you get to pick a new knack. All right. Now you don't have anything with pursue.
Yeah.
But you could take a knack of avoid.
Yeah.
And that will give you an extra die today.
Yep. Yeah. Let's do that one. We're gonna do that one today. Avoid sounds very good.
Roll 2 dice. The Vermisian Sage gets to make a new knack every session, but they can never take the same knack back to back because they get bored and they need to try new things. It's a very tiny D10. That's
a 0 on that means a 10, right?
Yep.
Yeah. The other one was a 1.
So you take the highest number of the two.
Yes, I do.
So you take
yes, I do.
So you take a 10.
Uh-huh.
You see, remember the broom sweeper from the Slot and Tackle?
Mm-hmm.
So as you're going through and you're looking for places to go, a little alleyway, but it was covered by like a sheet and it's kind of like a thing pulls out, and there's like a hand going, "Hey, come this way. I know a way out of here."
All right, I rush over in that direction as inconspicuously.
And the little porcupine gutterkin rat boy reaches you in and just scurries off down like a little alleyway gutter tunnel, but you got to get down on your hands and knees, and you get into there, and disappears down a corner, some like candlelight, and it leads you out to another side of the road, to another side street, but where those winter associates are not currently. And you get up, and the porcupine, we've never learned his name, the gutterkin, he gets up, and you see him dart through the crowd and up into an open window on the second floor of looks like another small boarded up house.
Mm-hmm. So, I absolutely follow him.
And when you get into that room, you open up the door, you hear footsteps running off, but the room is dark, and nothing else seems to be in there right now.
Okay. But otherwise, the coast kind of seems clear.
Yeah, it seems empty.
Okay. Where's
there's no light. You've got matches,
yeah,
and other like things that you could do to lighten. Drow in Spire routinely hold on to matches with them for seeing in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
You hear like a dun 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 dun. It's like running off.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sure. I'm gonna kind of light a match and see if I can see.
And the room is empty, save for a small stool with a nice purple cloth laid out over the top. And on the center of the stool is a black and silver coin. Well, it's a sten, but it's more ornate than that. And when you reach out and pick it up, it has carved into the side. It's an admit 1 to Club L'Enfer Noir, a very prestigious club in Red Row. But it's been left on a cloth that you recognize as something that would have been used in the Cathedral of Our Hidden Mistress. This is old, like before it was banned kind of stuff, right? It's like an altar for that. And so it's a message.
Right.
There's either a member of the ministry or a sympathetic member or someone left this for you to this club.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, so I guess I kind of suspiciously kind of like pocket the token. It's like, all right, I guess somehow this was meant for me. I'm from the room. I don't. What do I question at this point? So
sometimes things are just dropped for you.
Sometimes things just end up and it's specifically for me somehow.
Meanwhile, on another corner of Derelictus in Red Row at Club L'Enfer or L'Enfer or L'Enfer.
Just say Unfair.
Unfair Noir.
Onfair. Unfair. 2 words.
Unfair Noir is liminal. We met you with Daiga. You are working light pierces shadows. The Elfir who's on the ambrosia and writing the poetry. Mm-hmm. But maybe you're at a window right now looking down onto the streets and seeing the roving bands of vigilante bounty hunters looking for any kind of gnoll sympathizer, a gutterkin that kind of looks like a gnoll, anyone with a big heavy beard, humans that just, are short, anything that qualifies. And across the street on Kiln Street, where Enfer Noir is located, is the Helionite Church of the Gun, where they are standing guard and not letting people in. And there seems to be a confrontation right now between these City Watch, Neighborhood Watch. They're not City Watch, they're Neighborhood Watch. Bounty hunters demanding entrance into the Helionite Church.
Oh, that's going to go a holy very, sanctuary, very well for them.
And there's a bit of just like...
I'm sure they're going to be fine.
Inside the club, what's it like in Enfer Noir tonight, despite all the chaos? I feel like there's sometimes it's like a polarity reverse. The more pressure there is outside, the more the effects inside must be pronounced.
On the one hand, I imagine that in the pleasure chambers, things are perfectly hermetically sealed away from all of that, and all is as it should be. Our security is fairly robust, but they're being pressed, I expect.
Is it a slow on business?
Oh, it absolutely is. This
travel
will not,
plans have been canceled.
This will not do.
The tourists that would come down from up Spire
this
for a
simply
taste of Derelictus
will not do. Lightpierce's Shadow is going to have to head back up Spire sometime fairly soon, and it won't be long before he's going to come out of his trance, and those streets are going to have to be clear for him. We're going to have to take care of this. So, as he's beginning to come out of
perhaps you've been given a letter from a mega corvid post of the envoy will arrive shortly. Make sure the way is clear, and there is like an escort of Shadow's estate that will be arriving to bring them out, because the Elfir wouldn't handle anything as pedestrian as border crossings, right? They have their ways of moving around Spire, but would, it's one of those. It's an event.
Are the people outside? Are the neighborhood watch goons actually trying to press through security at L'Enfer-Noir? Or are they...
They will as soon as they're done with the church. You're the next. If they're just knocking on doors.
All right.
It's kind of like looking out and seeing, oh, there's the Jehovah's Witness coming down the street. Eventually, they're going to ring your doorbell.
I'm going to have a chat with security. I'm going to arrange for them to put up a strong front, but to have a subtle but noticeable weakness in their patrols, which will allow for entry through one of our rear exits, through one of our rear entrances. We're going to have the rooms flanking that entrance filled with guards as well, and we're going to make sure that those who do get through aren't that big a group, and that they wind up in a hallway not too far outside the pleasure chamber where Lightpierce's Shadow is just about to come out of his trance, and I'm going to be waiting there for when they get to that point.
I like this, but you got silver, shadow, and reputation. You got a number of things that might help you out here. I'm thinking, in a way, this is kind of a resist. And it's either high society or order. Both are appropriate. And your association with Enfer Noir, I think when you give orders here, I would allow you to roll with mastery. So give me 4 dice. I expect this to succeed, but it'll be fun if it doesn't. 9. So, yeah, your reputation, your status, your role here, your orders are going to be followed through.
So as they burst in to one of the waiting rooms, and this place is an oasis of calm, they must look really out of place compared to Ellis. I'll be there, resplendent in my oily black dress and my black mask, which is in the shape of oily hands grasping my face from different directions with their fingers slightly parted so that my eyes can see through them.
The one leading the charge is... he has a face-covered mask. They're all wearing masks, but more like balaclavas, not so much like Elfir masks. So you can see their eyes, and it's all cloth. But they wear these black vests with a white tie, and that identifies them as a member of Mr. Winters, right? That is what you wear when you work for them. And everything else is like, it's their gloves and heavy padded pants, and they've got swords on their sides, and they're brandishing their swords out, and they, which is... You don't do that in Spire. And they're walking here, and some of them are like daggers, right? They brought their own things. You immediately would be able to look them up and down and realize that beyond the tie and the vest, everything else is hand-me-downs, right?
Which one of them is in charge?
I would say the tall one at the front, who pulls back the cover on his face and just shows a...
Good evening, sir, and welcome to
gold-toothed or a silver-toothed grin.
If you'll present me with your entry token, I shall know which pleasure chamber to guide you to this evening.
Not here for no entry token. Here to search the premises for any hidden gnolls. Orders
Sir.
of Mr. Winters.
My good sir, this is an exclusive club serving an exclusive clientele, including our lords from Spire, who do not take kindly to interruption of their pleasures.
And he snaps his fingers and starts pointing his mirror go through. As you know, Kiln Street operates under the pleasure of Mr. Winters. This club is of no exception,
Does
regardless
Mr. Winters
of your
consider his authority to
exotic-
be greater than that of our lords from up Spire, sir? Because if he does, I believe there are many who may take exception to this.
I'm just following my orders. You can take it up with Mr. Winters. In the meanwhile, Mr. Winters is given authority of Kiln Street.
This will be about the time when Lightpierce's shadow may be coming out of his trance and he might be hearing some of the altercation going on out here and might step out to investigate.
And his this drow, his compatriots have flanked him on the side and are walking left and right of him to go past you. And I suppose are your guards blocking the way in?
For the most part, they're busy at the outsides, but there are a few who are here, and so they will have to actually perform some kind of violence to move farther in. And I'm going to try to compel them at this point. I'm going to say, your behavior is most inappropriate, sir, for a place such as this. And
I don't care about your sex fantasies that your clients are into, but if you've got nothing to hide, then you've got nothing to worry about from Mr. Winters.
You will not impugn the privacy of our guests, sir.
This is
nor will your thugs.
This is a drow who...
If you wish to retain your position or your life.
Roll me a compel.
Okay. So, compel.
And
I'm
I
going to
don't
go
think...
with order. I think order works for this.
Yeah. He's more low society and crime.
But I'm appealing. It's not him though.
Yeah.
I'm drawing on the strength
and
of
only
order.
because you're in Noir. If you were doing this out on the street, it might not work. But given the domain of where you are, this is closer to high society or order. So, go ahead and roll for that. And
that's a 4.
Your highest?
Yep.
Oh dear. That's.
So I imagine he might actually offer physical violence to me. And so when Lightpierce's shadow comes out, he'll actually see me on the ground having been wounded.
Yeah, so he's like, he comes in close and is like, of course, masked one. Wouldn't want to cause any trouble. However, may I present a counter offer? As he then places his stiletto right into your ribs. And
that's going to hurt.
Roll me a d6.
Just puts it there.
Just slides it in, and you just kind of this person isn't here to negotiate, and you didn't have a weapon on you.
Nope.
And he just had it in his hand and just very gracefully, actually more gracefully than you would have anticipated. He's not, these thugs that are beside him are thugs. This man has worked his way up through the ranks of Mr. Winters to become one of his lieutenants, charged with restoring Mr. Winters' reputation. And that's as important to him as your responsibilities to the club and to that are to you.
So I rolled a 6 for that wound.
Okay. So I am going to
And that's going to get a very, very loud, piercing scream.
That's not good.
So 6 points worth of blood stress.
Yeah, because the dagger deals D3, so it actually will deal you 3 points of blood stress. But I'm gonna roll a D10 to see if I roll under a 3 to see if you suffered fallout. And I rolled a 1.
Okay.
So you are suffering minor fallout. So let me just consult what blood minor fallout looks like, which is kind of. This is going to probably explain. You said you're probably lying on the ground in a pool of your own blood.
That's most likely it.
And so you're leaking.
I'm going to need medical attention.
Until you get proper medical care, every time you make an action, mark 1 more stress against blood before you roll the dice, but we will not check for fallout.
Okay.
But that number is going to keep checking up. However, if you suffer fallout, it means that number has been incrementally, it's been tick, 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 tick.
Yep.
Now, for suffering that fallout, that number resets.
Resets to 0?
It does refresh, and so I'll drop that down to 0. But every time you take an action, I'll be adding 1 to blood until you suffer. So he just stabs you.
Yep.
Right into the ribs and pulls it out, and it just starts to bleed.
Yep.
And it's all over, and you drop to a knee because it's and steps over you, snaps his fingers, and the thugs just ignore you entirely like a doormat.
By this point, it is likely that
and they start kicking doors.
The guards who are here are now fighting to the death. because this is unheard of. Anyone who are here are now actually going to try to kill as many of these people as possible. It's also possible that I find it very unlikely, but at this point, that light versus shadow isn't going to come out to investigate all this noise.
So as the fighting continues and the doors are being kicked down, tables are being tossed over. If there's a thug that gets into a room that a guard wasn't able to stop them in, like it's just curtains being pulled away to see if there's false doors on the walls, and there's pillows being ripped open, but then also the struggle between the thugs and this lieutenant as they're fighting. And Light Pierces Shadows steps out onto. I see this club opening up, and you've got these pleasure chambers, but maybe there's a bar in the center with like a balcony that looks down.
Yeah, there would be a ballroom,
right? And so this is and Light Pierces Shadows up on the second story.
Yes.
He steps out in his mask and resplendent robe. It's almost like casting a light into a room of darkness. It's just this presence.
I'm going to take an action to draw myself, and suffer one stress for this, to draw myself up to my full height, making it quite obvious the degree of pain that I'm in. But I'm going to maintain perfect decorum throughout all this, and I'm going to make sure that it's clear that in order to maintain perfect decorum, I have to hurt myself. My lord, these gentlemen are here on behalf of Mr. Winters and have breached the sanctuary of our security. Please forgive us.
Light Pierces Shadows takes in the room. There's a pause in the fighting as the thugs look up and see an Aelfir is present here in the club. And not like one of the weird ones that take off their masks or anything like that, but someone that looks like one of position and stature. And actually, the first time, other than this one moment with Ambrosia, that we've seen in Aelfir, their hair is kind of moving out. It's very Galadriel kind of a thing happening. And there's a bit as he looks down and his hand reaches out over the ballroom and he sees what's going on, and then he just asks, "Has my envoy arrived?"
He is expected very shortly, sir. Very shortly, my lord.
I will remain in my room, see that I'm not disturbed. And he just turns and doesn't care.
Holy shit.
And he just leaves behind and the door closes.
I made my play and I failed. Is there any way I could persuade him?
This is not his concern.
Is there a chance I could have persuaded him to act on our behalf?
As he's walking away, you can.
Okay.
You can try.
Because
whenever you interact with the Aelfir, you get to roll with mastery on social checks. So you're one of the few ones who can do that.
I'm going to try this. I'm going to try to persuade him to order these men to cease. These sorts of actions are the kinds of things that are the sorts of petty concerns that I try to keep out of sight. However, should word get out that ruffians can simply do this, it would compromise the pleasures of all those who arrive here, my lord. So I'm trying.
You're appealing. Yeah, it's a compel roll. You're appealing to Light Pierces Shadow
to take action to preserve something that's pleasurable for himself.
Yeah, there's we need to save face. We need to restore. We need to reassert ourselves.
Yes.
That there is a chain of command here that is being broken.
Yes.
And
that his pleasures are in danger.
Good news. You get to roll 4 dice.
Yay.
Hey, let's do it.
8.
He points his finger at the silver-toothed lieutenant and just goes, "You, one in charge." And he looks out and says, "Yes, my lord." Like he doesn't know how to speak in the way that you do. He has no mastery in reaching out to an Aelfir. Kiln Street operates under the oversight of Mr. Winters, yes? Yes, my lord. And Mr. Winters operates under whose authority? And then he says, anyone, like he's teaching a class of children. And one of the other thugs being like, "De Aelfir?" A round of applause for the one who understands. Mr. Winters may search anywhere on Kill Street that he wishes to in order to keep the order that he seeks to assert here in this domain. He kind of has a bit of a pause. But make no mistake, he operates under our pleasure and under our authority. And I will be leaving soon, and when I am not here, you may operate as you deem fit. For now, you are disturbing me. And there's, yes, my lord, understand, my lord. And he snaps his fingers. All right, you heard the man. Go check next door. And they take their swords and just kind of do like a awkward bow, like again, like a kind of like a curtsy. They don't know, and they just kind of back out and put their swords away. And looks to you. Will that be all?
Your wisdom, as always, my lord, is a blessing to us all.
And you can't see; it's a full face covering, and you can only even just see a bit of the eyes through the mask. But there's just a bit of annoyance in the posture of having to lift his finger to do anything. It's just an effort that was just not part of the trip. And just then turns without a word and then goes into the room and the door closes.
There's a way I can save face here. Well, perhaps another time. I'm going to see if... now, obviously, we have a number of rather...
Meanwhile, something else is going on.
We have a number of rather edgy pleasures that go on here. So we have to have medical staff here. So I'm going to see to that. And that might be about the time when Lysanna arrives.
So the as the Silvertooth lieutenant is like heading out, and they're going, check out that place, go did it, and he's just kind of once again, I'm the one in charge. Don't you forget about it. As soon as he gets back out onto the street, and they push past you, almost knock you off your feet, Lysanna, as three thugs of Mr. Winters in their white ties come out of the club as you're looking at the Sten, looking up at the club, and they kind of push your way back like, this is the place.
Yeah.
Those look like blood on their swords.
Yeah. So I'm just like, I'm seeing these guys like rush out of this place, and I'm just like, kind of like, I take whatever like a hood kind of thing, and like kind of use it to like cover my face slightly as I kind of like look at the sign for this place and look at the like decorative sten, and I kind of like try and find a way in.
And you've got like guards posted outside,
yes.
or like a doorman who operates as a guard.
It looks like a doorman, but it's actually a doorman with a lot of other guards hidden nearby.
Murder holes, kind of all over the place. Sniper on the roof.
You got it.
Yeah, just little darts that'll come shooting out.
We take our security quite seriously.
And so
those sorts of breaches are very rare.
There's like a little coin slot or a sten slot in the door that you just kind of would place it almost like a vending.
Put it in the slot and turn the knob. A little gachapon ball comes out.
Well, you don't have to turn a knob. Once you place it through like the mail slot.
Yeah.
There's you hear a drop and like clinking with other sten, and then a click, and it opens up like business as normal.
Right, so I kind of like shifty-eyedly, like kind of cautiously walk in.
This particular token is would see somebody arrive to direct you to my chambers.
Yes. So a slender drow guard in a very ornate half-face covering opens the door and just points you in the direction down a hallway to a room.
Okay. I like kind of
another
like
one in the hallway
bit.
just kind of with their fingers steepled bows to your direction and then just turns to lead you into the club.
Okay. Yeah.
Like they were expecting you.
Right, sure.
And like they didn't just chase out three thugs seconds earlier. Back to business.
Totally, everything's totally fine.
And you step over. There's a pool of fresh blood in the carpet. Your blood, Liminal.
I'm alarmed by that.
Squelch into it, and a door's been kicked in, but has already been like placed back into place. And
there are people painting it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, people like repairing it. Kind of as I'm walking in, it's like, oh, okay.
a glass is being shoveled off to the side, and by the time you've made it from the entrance door to the ballroom, you look back over your shoulder. The carpet is clean, the door is repaired, the glass has been shoveled away, curtains have been restored, music begins to play up again, the lights dim back down, and you could have sworn this place was a wreck as you walked in the door, but by the time you make it to the manager's office, nothing's happened.
Yeah.
And all the other little worker bees moving around have retreated back to whatever side servants' halls that they operate in and disappeared. And all that remains now is the guard at the door and the one who's leading you in. Like it didn't happen. Like if the room is gaslighting you.
Yeah, Lysanna's just like, am I in the Vermissian way? The fuck's going on in here? What, I'm curious. Oh, okay. All right, well,
and there isn't even a knock at the door when the servant arrives, but maybe just a sound of enter on the other side, and the door just slides like a Japanese style door, just kind of slides into the wall. And what does your office look like, Liminal?
It's more than an office. It's a preparation room. Have you ever seen like a Hollywood dressing room from like the 50s? Imagine the fantasy drow version of that, with cobweb motifs everywhere, with racks upon racks of clothing, every possible type of cosmetic, a lot of weird bondage gear that you probably don't want to know how it works. And
masks.
One entire wall is filled entirely with masks of every possible kind. There's a fair bit of space in here. This is not just an office. This is a staging room. This is a war room. And seated on a stool near the middle of the place is
Are you changing your mask? Or you maybe?
I haven't had time to change my old mask, but I'm seated on this stool in the middle of the room with my dress hiked up, and there's somebody stitching up my side, and I'm trying my best to not show any pain. And the first words out of my mouth when you walk in are, "You're late." Close the door.
I turn around and I slide the door closed very gently, and then I turn back around to look at you.
What do you know of this disturbance?
Literally nothing. I've just been here, and all of a sudden this everything started to be on fire.
Can we say that the surgeon...
Wait. I might have an idea as to what might be happening. It has nothing to do with me. It doesn't entirely.
Relax. Take a drink. I'll sort of gesture over to a sidebar. Help yourself to whatever you want.
Thank you.
Several of them are glowing.
Can we say that the surgeon who's operating on me at this point is deaf?
Sure, yeah.
They might in fact have some sort of alteration so they can't hear the screams of the people that they're operating on.
You notice the person who is, because the drow have like elven pointed ears. Mm-hmm. This drow looks like it's been maybe adopted into your service. Their ears are it's more acid burns. They're gone.
Wow.
There's just no ear, and they wear their hair in like a headband, and very much in as a medical servant worker kind of look, but definitely someone who is there's lots of this in Derelictus from people who suffered injuries during their durance, either through experimentation or through workplace accidents or on the war or anything like that. But it does look they're not only not have ears, they don't have. There's nothing. It's just scarred tissue, and especially for the drow, where their ears would come out quite prominently. They look bald, right? You didn't even recognize them as drow when you first came in, as just more maybe just a dark-skinned human, until you saw that the skin was grayscale, and they have like amber-looking eyes that catch the light, showed off as they're cutting the stitches and putting another one in. Just very silently and diligently, just cleaning it up. And they've got a little wash basin with the gauze, and they're just cleaning the wound as well to prevent any future
and
infection.
Disinfecting it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
which hurts like hell, but I'm doing all I can.
But you're under a mask,
yes.
So no one sees the grimace. You just have to keep your body composed.
Yes.
Which just like makes you all the more intimidating. Yeah.
Works for me.
And then the very last stitch is clicked in and done up, padded, and some gauze is taped over the wound.
And as this is happening, you're sort of filling me in on what you have to tell me.
Right, yeah. I guess I would have gathered from the posters and the what's going ons that
Jairi wanted dead or alive.
Yeah.
For questioning. I don't know what you're gonna do if they're dead.
Do I know it's about gnolls?
Yeah, you know that the gnolls have escaped. There was a prison a prisoner escape from the arena.
Yeah.
And that the arena's been wrecked and Jairi's at the center of it, and you have absolutely no doubt Naros caused all of this, and that the reason they can't be found is they're not in Derelictus anymore. Right? Like he used the back door, got them out, and then destroyed the back door in the process.
Right.
And this is all his fault.
Right. Okay.
But what Liminal, is 2 sages had a confrontation with Vincent Vinny Vincenzo yesterday, and were being chased out by Mr. Winters, and that it caught, like, your little birds came to you and let you know that there are 2 sages from the ministry operating in Derelictus that have already gotten into one bar fight, and then a day later a bunch of gnolls go missing, and that sage was at the center of it. This is the only other half of that operation.
Right. Okay, so and I want you to know, you could probably like tell by the look in like Lysanna's face that she's doing like a lot to steel herself and asking you this question that I'm about to ask. But before I tell you anything, how did you? Why am I here? How did? What?
It is my business to know things.
Okay.
Just as it is your business to learn things, to investigate.
Okay.
I've been told that you're quite good at what you do, though you have not been with us for long.
Oh, okay. So you are right. Okay. All right. Okay. Then yes. The gnolls. The gnolls that they're looking for. They had been set free. I can be like, I'm 98% sure that they were set free by my associate, a sage, with the help of an idol, the one that they are looking for right now. I am not that sage. I was not present when all of that happened.
More's the pity. All right, here's what you're going to do. I'll stand, walk over to the banks upon banks of clothing, start looking across things, and I'll gesture towards you to come closer.
So I kind of like cautiously, I'll just kind of walk up.
I'm going to start pulling out some of the more edgy sort of outfits that we have here, stuff that indicates a warrior's sort of approach to things, particularly things that are from outside Spire, sort of a more exotic sort of look. And I'm going to start taking things out.
A curious from the free cities of Ys.
Holding them up next to you, and then putting back, taking other things.
Lysanna is starting to look at the things that you're pulling out and starting to become like increasingly more uncomfortable. It's like, oh no, is she gonna make me wear these?
Some of this is very sheer.
Head over
It's for desert wear.
That chest of drawers, 4th row, 6th one down. Open it. And I go over to the appointment book and start paging through that as well.
Keep thinking of like the Breath of the Wild.
The Gerudo.
Yeah, Gerudo. Very, very Gerudo fashion.
Sorry, before I go further, what are your character's pronouns?
Oh, they, them.
They,
Thank
them.
you.
Okay, sorry about that.
She, her also works.
Okay,
she's,
sure.
They're a bit on the voluptuous side, so...
I'm into it.
It's either of those will work.
I feel, especially inside Unfair Noir, much more femme presenting than outside as Liminal, the masked, the member of the ministry, becomes androgynous and also whatever they need to be in this moment in order to accomplish. Like, they wear many masks.
And Lysanna's?
She, her. Yeah. Okay.
But also,
so,
but also like hexadecimal.
yeah, I love that. That's very good.
Was that does that make our medic Nibbler?
Quite possibly.
A little binome.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so I kind of like just make my way over to that exact drawer that I was directed to, and I pull it open.
Count out 12 of the blue tokens.
Okay, and I do that.
I'm going through the ledger at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have anybody who's going to be coming in the next few hours who is on the police force and who has more aggressive appetites?
Well, here's the thing.
Crazy.
You're going to the ledger and you're asking the
Nervous.
GM. But what you can do is you can ask a Vermissian sage to find the connection for you. Once per session,
Very
they can
good.
declare that 2 NPCs are connected somehow. You want to find 2 NPCs. You have a list of guests. And you want to find if any of those guests is connected to a particular other NPC.
Specifically
That's
to Harvest.
literally what the Vermissian skill is.
As you bring the
That means
the
triggering that once per session skill for that other player.
excellent.
Yeah.
So as you bring those 12 tokens over to me, thank you. Do you know any of these people to be connected in any way with Harvest? And basically you get to pick one. Use
Okay,
that cool
so
ability.
the moment that you mention Harvest, I understand that you and I are working towards the same situation.
Yeah.
Okay, so like, and as soon as you say that, like something clicks on. I'm like, okay, I this means like I'm no longer unsure of what's going on. Like, okay, so I look at this list of people.
Yeah.
Who do we got?
You have a lot of different names. You have a Zenmis and wait, don't hold on.
Did you
That's
say
Kingdom
Zenmis?
Hearts. That's Kingdom Hearts. Let me look up. Actually have a list of
Zemnis and Xehanort.
Xehanort, Lee,
Terra.
Axel, Reddit names. Venmir, Panka, Mataj, Ash, Jack Brickish.
Do we have any? I mean, I guess I'm assuming you're just kind of like pulling some.
One that just
names.
says "Marry No Man" and
Good advice, generally speaking, I'd say.
Robin Candles. A number of Elfir names too. Tears at Sunrise.
Oh, okay.
Sprue upon Gallows.
I feel
Supper
like-
before noon. Uncounted Sighs. I want to give a shout out here to Reddit user Tendy's Comrade for providing a list of Elfir names here.
I love
kinda
this.
fun.
This is very good.
But yeah, there's a lot, and there's a list of names, and on some from that seemed like local drow, others with like a out Spire names like Elfir tourists that come in, and it's a list of reservations. And is it names and dates, or do they also include occupations and other background information?
I would know their occupations.
Mm-hmm. So it like written in a different handwriting off into the side on in the margins is are just various different occupations, from accountants to bureaucrats, all money kinds of jobs. There's no blue collar workers coming to this club. And you see personal assistants, and certainly it's also your job as a sage, but also your past life as a personal assistant, where you recognize names here. And in the little stuff you've been learning about that Harvest served as, in the military and in the city watch, as you scroll through, you see someone who works as an administrator for city watch finances.
Mm-hmm.
Like they handle the payroll
Yeah.
that the Elfir have that moves through the city.
Okay.
Is that interesting?
It is.
Yeah.
The other way to handle it would be to get somebody who's connected to Mr. Winters, so that they can be the one to color this, and then I can sort of hold that as a favor to him.
So there's a lot of other names in there as well. Obviously, winter names. You're looking for the drow backgrounds, and you're looking for the ones that have names that sound somewhat traditional, like something you would find from the home nations, but their occupations also, while being white collar, are a little more like cleaner.
So what do you think is our best call here, Cassie? Should we try to get closer to Harvest, or should we try to get closer to Mr. Winters?
My gut is saying get closer to Harvest.
Okay, let's do that then.
Yeah.
We'll have to risk a minor enmity with Winters a little bit because we're going to be solving a problem for him.
Because Harvest is operating the way Harvest is operating because of the resources they have offered to them. If you have a way of
we need to get closer to him.
Disrupting the pay flow.
Yeah.
Harvest is only as powerful as the guards he's got under his command.
Excellent.
And they're not going to work for Harvest if they're not being paid.
Yeah.
All right. So as you draw that connection, excellent. I can see why the ministry chose you.
I kind of sheepishly just kind of like nod at you.
What name do we want to give this administrator?
Probably an Elfir name.
An Elfir name? Mary No Man?
Sure. I love it.
So Mary No Man, an administrator, operates out of an office in the works, which handles the pay flow to a number of Elfir operations throughout Spire, from manufacturing to city defense to church donations, all that kind of stuff. There's a money flow, and it goes through the works that is also a factory district, but is also an administrative district. There's lots of offices and lots of central processing places. It's a big area where transportation networks and pneumatic tubes and all kinds of stuff like that work. And then the center of that is an overseer office, and that's where you see this name, and it's a corporation. You have written in the name, and it's not so much Mary No Names that catches your attention as a sage. It's the administration. Oh, this is the office that pays the city watch.
All right, and they do indeed have aggressive appetites. So that's what I need. Somebody who likes to hurt people. All right,
that's an aggressive name.
here's what you're going to do, and I start dressing up and sort of giving you tips on things that gnolls like, things that can entice them, appetites that they tend to enjoy. You are going to find 12 gnolls, preferably some who the neighborhood would be better off without, cruel people, and you are going to present them with these tokens, and you are going to see to it that they hear of rumors that l'Enfer Noir was recently designated as a place that is safe from Mr. Winter's predations. Also,
which will match the rumors of what's currently going around.
Exactly.
That was very public.
You will tell them that we have recently obtained the interest of an anonymous Elfir patron who would ordinarily use gnolls for their interests. And we would tend to pay quite well for these kinds of services, but what we're paying in this case is safety.
Okay, so Lysanna kind of nods and is kind of absorbing everything that you're saying, and is kind of in her head questioning what's going to happen next.
You're going to find them. You're going to see to it that they arrive safely here. I understand transportation is also a thing that you specialize in. If possible, I would like you to discover if any of the personal effects of the escaped gladiators are still in the arena. If you can, obtain them and bring them here.
Okay.
If you can obtain descriptions of the escapees, anything you find out, any distinguishing marks, anything about them, that will be useful to us.
Okay.
The 12 who you find are going to take their place, and they are going to be caught, killed, and brought in by Mary No Man, who is going to profit tremendously from this, and is going to see a promotion, most likely for it, and be in a better position to act on our behalf when we choose to use him.
So Lysanna probably looks visibly uncomfortable with this plan, but she nods. And I understand. To sort of size you up, is Lysanna the sort of person who is comfortable with being touched, or is she somebody who is Yeah, it depends on the level of comfort she has with that person. So it's gonna vary depending on the situation.
What I'm going to take a chance then. I'm just going to very gently, as you seem to be having your intense moment of doubt, the sphere, I don't know if I can, I'm just going to very gently reach out and stroke your cheek in the way that a grandmother might and say, you can do this.
Okay, and Lysanna kind of just...
For the sake of the people of this district, you must do this.
And she kind of like lets out like a really deep sigh and she nods. Just, okay.
So I'm using an ability on you called Dressed for Success. For your next situation, you get to roll with mastery when you're making deceive and compel checks.
Oh.
Yeah. So yeah,
you
spend an hour helping an ally prepare before a difficult endeavor. You pick out their clothes and advise them on the methods of the approach. So this, we don't have to play out every individual thing. We can do this as like a montage on setting up the sting operation.
Right.
It also helps that there's an envoy on its way to pick up Light Pierce's shadow. So that all plays into this cover story of an Elfir amnesty to gnoll refugees in Derelictus. An immunity has been offered, right? And this
perhaps
this
a kind
coin,
of institutional falsehood, you might call it.
This token, this token will once per session, when you have access to the paperwork, and
I don't know if I'm actually using that ability.
Disseminate a lie to the organization that'll be widely believed until it's proven false. But this token will, you arrive, they'll get you through the gates and they'll get you out. And it's too good to be true. But also, Mr. Winters is closing in.
They know they're going to have to degrade themselves to do this before whoever their gross, decadent Elfir patron is.
Yeah.
And I did mention there were a lot of those like professional gnoll gladiators that were fighting Nerus in the last episode. There are also others that are just hiding out. There are other gnolls too that are just here as they've secreted them way into Spire to act as researchers, to study the heart, and have bribed and tricked their way into Spire through their own means, even through other caverns that have brought them into Spire. It can be found. In Derelictus, they're more easy to be discovered, and they live, as hidden as they can. But most people in Spire and Derelictus don't turn anybody in for anything, right? Everyone's just kind of here for their own reasons. So you can go, and if you roll compel, you'll roll with 3 dice. With the help of the token, that gives you the mastery, so it gives you that extra die. But you don't have crime, low, or order.
And that's from Dress for Success, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
And so Dress for Success gives you the mastery. The tokens themselves, you have 12 of them. I think that's part of the Dress for Success. Yeah. It kind of all adds into it. So that guarantees you. Normally you would only get the 2 dice, but you get the 3rd. You get mastery.
Cool.
So let's see how well this plays out.
That's a 9.
It's a 9.
What
was your second highest?
My second highest was a 3.
So Dress for Success helped, because if you'd only rolled the 2 dice, the highest one could have only been a 3. So you roll a 9.
The clothes make the person.
I'm into it.
And the maybe the porcupine kid helps you out too, like leading you around and showing you where to go, like kind of waiting in the kitchen of Enfer Noir. Might be one of the people that work to help clean up the messes and just kind of hide in the servants' quarters and just kind of sees you with like a bit of kind of like a ready for the mission, still whispering it.
What's your name, little friend?
Goblet.
His name is Goblin.
Goblet.
Oh, Goblet. Oh,
Goblet.
So I reach out to give him a little high five.
And he goes to do a fist bump, and it's kind of awkward.
He
just kind of punches
the
high
It's
five.
okay. You know what? I humor him, and I'm like, look, we made a turkey.
What's a turkey?
It's a turkey.
What's a turkey?
Oh, it's a Do they, I mean,
I'll tell you when you're older.
Do they exist?
I mean, I'm sure there's a turkey somewhere in the Destra.
Sure,
but not in Spire.
Just
it's just like you eat it.
I heard it's a kind of bird. It's got big tail feathers.
You're weird.
Yeah, I know.
All right. And he shows you around town.
Yeah.
And he takes you and he leads you out. I mean, the first half dozen is the easy one because with the arena under construction, you're able to find, like, there's a tavern where all the old professional fighters are just kind of like drinking, waiting for the arena to open up. But they're without the arena, they're out of money, they're out of income, they're out of safety, and they're they don't know what to do. They're like, "What? We gotta get out of here, right? Like, the only thing we can do is fight." And then you drop some coins onto the table and being like, "This is your way out of here." And all they met was a masked, like well-dressed representative of Enfer Noir, and you were and they take the coins. The other 6, the other half dozen, these are people that you are sending to be dealt with. So as Goblet is showing you around Derelictus, which ones do you give a coin to? Do you give a coin to the researcher who's hiding out? You've got 6 more to do, and they're looking for a dozen escapees.
Yeah.
And this is a tough, horrible choice that Lysanna needs to be complicit in.
Yeah.
So the first ones were easy. They were just other fighters, and the last thing you heard is they tried to kill your friend. All right.
Yep.
The other 6, who do you hand coins to? What gnolls are they?
I mean, Lysanna doesn't want to do this to the ones that are just kind of like minding their own business and they're not hurting anyone.
Would you prioritize the ones who are older, or the ones who have no family, or the ones who are not nice?
Do you try to find...
Probably, yeah.
Which of those would you give priority to?
I guess.
Or do you toss the other 6 coins down the well and be like, go and find them? leave Liminal to only deal with half of the number that they're looking for.
No, I can't. That's not proper completion of my mission. And
that would have been good.
I got it. No, like it.
You just go to a well and you just make a wish.
Yeah, no, it sucks big time for Lysanna because like she doesn't like for the good, like for the good of trying to fix things around here. Like she's got to make a tough choice.
You see. In an argument outside of one of the city watch buildings, or like an immigration office, or not an immigration, Derelictus, those aren't here, but one of the gates, one of the choke points is you can see they're cloaked, and it's like a gnoll family trying to get out of town. And they're trying to escape. You won't give them the coin.
No.
Goblet takes you around to an area near just outside of town where they're helping with construction, and there's among other gutterkin that help, there's a few gnolls that are hidden into that, and they look independent, working, keeping their heads down. Do you give them a coin? Goblet's just like showing you where the gnolls are.
Yeah. They're not doing. I mean, I'll keep those guys on like the
they're on the short list.
The back
Goblet
list.
sighs. He's like, all right, and he's looking around.
I apologize to him. Like, I'm sorry, Goblet.
And takes you to an area in Threadneedle Square where merchants are being done around, and there's a place where sick and dying are being kept kind of in induced states of they're hooked up to a bunch of drugs, right? And they're some of it seems to be kind of pain management, and they look like they're from the front, and they're injured and they're dying, and they're more or less in palliative care. This is going to be a harder sell that they are escaped prisoners from the arena, but maybe they got injured during the escape. Do you give them a coin?
I think this might have to be one of them.
Yeah. Do you have any suggestions of what other tough gnoll decisions might be out there, or
I'm busy trying to figure out how to get their effects. I've got this thought of writing up a note to Mr. Winters saying, if you want this problem to go away, have any remaining personal effects of the escapees delivered to l'Enfer Noir at once.
Goblet's able to make sure to lead the ones you give coins to through the back entrance into the club, into like a storage basement.
Well, there's ultimately to the Blue Room, which is where they're going to be tripping balls until it's time for them to die.
And
big yikes.
So,
but
so you got 4 more coins to hand out to make it to your dozen. There's lots of criminals but as you're seeing, like, these kinds of, they're hiding in the shadows and they're doing their thing, and they're all drow, right? They're all working, through the operation of Mr. Winters, right? It's you don't cut purses on your street without going through the family first. And the gnolls you do find are hiding all through Derelictus, and they're either they've snuck their way in because they're looking for people, like we met with Bredix, who was looking for her team, or they are prisoners of war, like the ones who did escape. They're professional fighters, like the ones you've already recruited, or they're sick and injured and old.
If you want to be super mercenary about this, the deciding factor is how closely does any given gnoll resemble one of the escapees. If somebody's a dead ringer for one of the escapees, no matter how nice they are.
There's a heavy set gnoll in a bar doing an arm wrestle with a human retro engineer who has built a prosthesis arm hydraulic elbow to try and like overpower, and this gnoll is just like, and they're like, and the hydraulics pop and explode, and the gnoll smacks the human's arm down to the table. It's like, and takes a whole big pocket of Sten into his bag, and it's just like, who's next? You give him a coin?
I mean, kind of pointing to a little bit to what Joan was saying.
It says swole for soul.
It's just Heckbane.
It's just Heckbane.
It's just
Do you give Heckbane a coin?
How closely does this guy resemble one of the escaped gnolls?
Oh, here's the thing. To someone like Mr. Winters, or to the Elfir, or to anyone who's actually even not a gnoll, it's very... As long as they got the same kind of fur and snout, it's like telling dogs between each other.
Yeah, it's almost kind of inconsequential.
It's hard to tell their faces apart, only because they're not humanoid,
right?
In the same way, right?
Yeah. Okay.
And so it's a lot easier. And because they were in the arena, no one ever saw these gnolls up close.
Yeah,
right? Like
that's true.
They were just soldiers. They were military. Special ops who are captured on the front line, and so you just need to find stuff that look like they could handle themselves with the Marines, right?
Okay. So you know what, let's say for kind of ease of getting kind of this montage done and out of the way, what I'm looking for are those types, the ones that look like they could handle themselves in an arena, like
so Goblet comes up with this idea. Okay, after we got Heckbane figured out, give him a coin. We got 3 more. So Goblet arranges a competition of strength at the old Slot and Tackle as part of a revitalization to rebuild the Slot and Tackle that got burnt down. And he's like,
good boy.
And he's trying to get up onto it. Come on. He kind of whisper yells, to the greatest show on earth, are you the strongest one who's ever fought in the strongest fight? And it has a quick kind of like tug of war and head bashing and run into each other really hard games, and then the winner is given a coin, but it's rigged to get the 3 strongest remaining gnolls into the fight, and as you hand that up to them, so they're on their way. Getting the effects, Liminal.
Yes. I don't think I can leave this to just a letter. I think I have to actually go in person.
You're going to have to dip into your silver.
Fair enough. Whatever it takes, I'll do it.
Just a good old bribe.
The Honestly, my intention was to make sure that Mr. Winter's people understand we can make this problem go away. We understand that your back is against the wall. Mm-hmm. You had to send your goons in to our place, even though that's bad for our business and bad for the entire place and long-term bad for you too, because it brings the ire of our masters upon us and you. Mm-hmm. But if you want this problem to go away, all we need is their personal effects. And after this, you will never have to worry about it again.
Cool. 3 dice.
7.
So you go up to the arena that's under construction. Mm-hmm. It's under repairs.
Yes.
And we met a character last time. He was a wiry drow with bifocals, and was the one who was making the papers and signing things up. And he's like, not taking any new names for the fights until the arena closed until further business. And you explain that there's something else going on, and you're here to purchase or to acquire or to find the
I'm here to help them make this problem go away.
And it's like, the only thing you can help with to make this problem go away is to fill out the bounty and to bring the criminals who have escaped. And he's been saying this 1,000 times a day, and he's just reading off the paperwork. Right. From what you rolled, it's aware that you can get what you want. Well, it's going to cost you. And it's going to cost you D3 of silver.
All right.
Because you succeed at a cost, so you'll take stress from it.
And I roll a 6 again.
Oh, no. So you'll take... That's okay. You do have a resistance in your silver?
Just 1.
So you got...
So 2 points of stress on silver. I also still have 2 points of stress on blood. I think I took 2 actions between receiving that wound and getting medical attention. Now that I've had medical attention, that's done. But I've still got 2 stress there.
So you actually... you suffer minor... During the next session or later, an NPC who lent you money will call in a favor.
That sounds about right.
And he's like, yes, Liminal, we know of your operation. Heard about the interference this morning. So sorry about that.
Of course. Appearances must be kept up. You needed to give the appearance of doing something about this.
When you're down this deep in the shit in the Spire, we're all in it together, isn't that right?
There is no ethical consumption in the Spire.
I like the way you think. I can give you what you need. However, Mr. Winters will, of course, be requiring a response in the future.
No doubt.
A favor, of course. He will be in touch soon with...
Would perhaps the resolution of this issue of the gnolls to his satisfaction be considered sufficient favor to square our accounts?
No, not at all. This is, if anything, you owe us for embarrassing Mr. Winters' names in front of so many people on Kiln Street. You see, now people think he works for them. And that just doesn't work here. So
it's a shame they had to announce such a thing on their own. I assume they will be disciplined for that error.
No doubt, it's already been taken care of.
Very good. And perhaps you should be more careful in hiring staff who will be a bit more discreet in future as well, sir.
May I remind you that you are the one suffering fallout in this?
In that case, I'm going to be more obsequious than that.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to pretend. I'm going to go along with it. I'm not going to try and be high and mighty and shit. I'm going to actually be obsequious. I'm going to be grateful. I'm going to bow and scrape.
You don't want these effects. I can just have them burned in front of you right now. They're of use to me no more.
Yes, I rehearsed this conversation before that, and I realized that if I did try that approach, that's exactly what he would say.
Yes. Gods, destroy all the evidence that the master would like. Mm-hmm. Of course, you can have that, and we will be in touch.
It would be my honor to perform a favor for one as illustrious as Mr. Winters. Thank you kindly, sir.
Indeed. And has it boxed up for you, and in the lost and found. I'll have this marked off as next of kin, and
please have it delivered to the servants' entrance at L'Enfermar.
Of course.
You're very kind, sir.
Business with you, Liminal.
And
let's go. His name can be Mr. Quill.
Sure.
That's not his name.
I'm going to try to give the impression that I'm very much going to go along with the narrative that he got one over on me.
He's the bookie at the arena.
And that he has defeated me in this, and that I respect him for having bested me.
And as he walks away, as you're walking away with like a coat check token for your box that will be delivered, he's like, better luck next time.
Like a shit-eating grin on his mouth, on his face.
As he goes back and just like takes another tincture of Malik.
Fair enough. I suspect luck had little to do with it, sir. And that's by way of a compliment, actually. So saying him, no, you were better at this than me.
And so the plan plays out. The 12 gnoll arrive with Goblet's aid into the servants' entrance and then into the blue room, where they are being held until the envoy will arrive. And even Goblet points out, see, the envoy's already coming here. You can already see it coming around there. They're here for you. He lies through his teeth because they're not. They're here for Light Pierce's shadow. And Light Pierce's shadow his effects have been packed away, and he's rather enjoyed his stay, of course. Always such a wonderful escape from the mundane. And
we exist to serve your pleasure,
and he
my lord.
pays you in the traditional Light Pierce's shadow currency, a page from his poetry.
Cool, great, and good.
just a weird limerick he's trying out.
Fucking limerick.
Once was a drow in Spire.
I'll shiver with appreciation for this, so that he can see how deeply moved and how deeply privileged I am to be witness to his genius. But meanwhile,
please send us your Spire limericks at #Spire Limerick.
So in the blue room, the gnolls are going to be drugged up so that they're basically falling. It's like opium. Yeah. They can barely stand, but everything's
funny. Do you aerosolize
funny.
it, like to the point where they're not even taking it? It's just in the room?
We'll feed it to them. We'll make sure they understand that this is part of the task, that this is the state that their patron prefers their playthings to be in.
They're going to be basically placed in barrels and shipped out in the
not
dead
barrels.
of night.
No, not in barrels, not at all. What's going to happen is that our gentleman from the bookkeeping zone, with a very, very serious, very rage-filled sort of set of fantasies. Now, we have rules. You're not allowed to hurt our employees beyond a certain point. They have limitations. There are signals. There are safe words. There are all kinds of safety measures in place designed to protect our employees and also to make sure that nobody has to get sued or go to prison for what they do here. However, he's been built up into a sort of a froth. Mary No Man really, really wants to hurt or preferably kill something. And just as he's coming out, he's going to discover that the gnoll criminals are in the blue room right now. He's going to be provided with a blade. And because they're laughing, because everything's funny, the staff are going to be fleeing in terror, and I'm going to try and compel him to go in and kill them all.
And I think we just fade to black.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the episode ends. Word will pass through Spire that the gnolls had been apprehended. Marry No Man will take the credit and no doubt receive a just reward. Mr. Winters will be satisfied. And Derelictus returns to a state of status quo that was more beneficial to especially Liminal before. And the fallout and the fires raging after the gnoll escape. However, the fact remains, there are still 12 gnolls out in Spire, and the good news is no one's looking for them anymore. If anything, you have helped set the table for when they eventually emerge from whichever tunnel they've hidden themselves into, and they don't even know it's you to thank. Just the way you like it.
Perfect.
With that kind of operation, with Marry No Man now rising into a place of prominence, and gratitude towards Unfair Noir not realizing that they are actually indebted to the ministry of our hidden mistress, you have now a connection and a single individual bond with Marry No Man, both of you.
Nice.
Because you played a role in this mission as well. Who is the Elfir that is responsible for the payroll to the City Watch? Which is a very interesting angle. You can also, Lysanna, you can write down Goblet.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that.
Yeah,
Sweet.
Goblet is absolutely, you spent a day out there with Goblet.
Friend.
And he's,
I never had a friend before that could actually talk. That's cool.
and so Goblet's going to hang out, and you have a connection now. When you get more than one individual level bond, you can, if you can actually explain how, combine them to street level bonds. And 2 street level bonds can be combined into a city level bond. So if you were to say get another, like you have Light Pierce's Shadow as an individual bond, and you have Marry No Man as an individual bond, you could combine both of them into Elfir Administration, right? And you could have a street level bond with Elfir Bureaucrats. That it doesn't matter if it's Marry No Man or Light Pierce's Shadow. What matters is they are Elfir with influence. Right, and so that could be something that happens as they evolve through the game,
Sounds like a good deal.
Or if it's more important to you that they remain individual bonds,
Sure.
right? Because when they suffer fallout as a group,
Right.
and then you might lose your entire connection to that street level. If you get 2 street level bonds, say the servants of your former master and Elfir Administration, you could combine that into a citywide of the Elfir Underground. Right, your Elfir network now is a citywide connection to, you have a servant in every Elfir estate that you can reach out to. Right, that's how these bonds can evolve over time. And while it's really cool to get advances through abilities by changing the city, you can also increase your bonds through gathering sources, which is it's kind of its own advanced track in a way. If gathering those kinds of contacts and assets are the way that you plan to change Spire.
Is it possible that I may have shown the gentleman working for Mr. Winters who stabbed me that he should not have underestimated me? Or is that stretching it too far?
Post-credit scene.
All right. I'm here for this.
There's the silver-toothed lieutenant walking around with his white tie and black vest, kicking around doors, sees the Marry No Man getting all the credit for the gnolls, and then he is invited
to see Mr. Quill
into a private meeting with Mr. Quill, and Mr. Quill takes his tie, rips it off of his shirt, and says, "Congratulations. You're the newest recruit to the new Arena 2.0.
Oh!
And he's shackled and sent off for re-education into service of Mr. Winters. Mr. Winters would like to thank you would like to send you his appreciation for all of your diligent work, and most importantly, your discretion." And it's like, what discretion? Exactly. and then he's just dragged away, being like, Liminal! Yeah, you can refresh your stress.
Excellent.
So,
amazing.
From what you had 4 sitting around. Your
2 on blood and 2 on silver.
Your blood will go down, and you'll have 1 left on silver. I like that there are a lot of scenes. I find this happening a lot with the Masked. There's a lot of scenes happening third party, away from where the mask is.
Everything I do is indirect.
Yeah. And so it means having to constantly cut away and just describe like a picture-in-picture moment, very Thomas Crown Affair kind of a thing. So
that's very good.
When we're back, our next episode returns us to Jairi and Nerus, who are right now thinking that they fought the law and the law's coming after them, and they're going to be coming out expecting a fight, and they're going to be seeing newspapers going, "Gnolls captured, crisis averted, Spire returns to peace." And we're like, huh? And clearly the ministry's got their back. I mean, this is a really cool example of how these cells all operate, both individual but as a connected operation. And so that's really fun. So both of you, between this session and next session, the next time I see you, will gain a low advance. The city has changed. It's not like it's actually a return to the way it was. I don't think it's massive enough to be to a moderate change yet. And major changes are like permanent big story arc
Right.
moments.
I know exactly what I'm getting.
I counted the arena escape as a low change.
Mhm.
And I'm looking at this cover up kind of as a low change as well.
Sure.
Mhm.
Whereas a moderate change might be like you have Marry No Man as a potential connection. But if you turn Marry No Man to openly now work for the ministry, that would be a moderate change. That would be a major win for the ministry and their efforts.
Mhm.
If you kill Harvest or replace Harvest or turn Harvest or supplant Harvest, that would be a major change, right? Like the higher echelons of the city guard have now been shifted from one way or the other. If Derelictus descended into open warfare, that might be a moderate advance as well. Rolling things back to the way they were pre-arena escape, I'm kind of on the judgment of it being a low advance.
That's fine.
Yeah.
The important thing is that damage has been averted and we
Yeah.
have advanced the cause of the ministry. We've got additional context that we didn't have before. They're placed higher than they were before.
Mhm.
And we are in a better position to accomplish our main present goal, which
Cool.
is dealing with Harvest.
Mhm.
Just killing him won't help. They'll put somebody worse in his place. We have to disgrace him, and we have to disgrace the idea of a drow adopting Aelfir religious principles and ideas and suppressing drow ideas. We have to make sure that whoever's higher up understands that the poor little drow need their inferior religious practices and so on in order to not descend into chaos and anarchy, that our efforts to impose the true religion upon them are bound to fail. It's pearls before swine.
Yeah.
I think that's the goal with Harvest, is to make it so that it falls out of favor
Yeah.
Yep.
for drow to try to put on airs
Mhm.
of being like the Aelfir.
Yeah.
So that whoever comes back will be more of a drow traditionalist who can keep order among those slums
Mhm.
because they're one of those filth.
I'm kind of the mind, because I'm on the fence about it, of leaning towards a moderate advance. Only because the effort in a single episode to restore Derelictus back into a place that you can operate out on was so much more monumental than just simply smashing the arena and stealing a bunch of gnoll. For you to actually have so astutely fixed it all in one mission.
And it came at a real cost too. I mean,
Yeah,
Lysanna's work of deciding who to kill, that was horrible.
Yeah.
And
That
like
was the most intense scene of the whole story.
and the
for
rumors
sure.
have
really
gone
rough
through.
for her.
Yeah.
The rumors of going through what happened at Fair Noir, of what happened to the missing gnoll. There's like now 24 gnoll have gone missing out of Derelictus, really. What's the chaos in the streets, and also restoring Mr. Winters to a place of respect and power, and almost kind of getting them like, yes, they're going to come to you and expecting
Sure.
you to fill in a debt, but there's also now, in a way, a mutual respect. Like it's a quid pro quo,
Yes.
less of a debtor coming and asking you to pay.
We're
a debt
friends
that you
now.
owe.
Friends help each other.
Exactly. Well, there's like
Yes,
this
friends.
a professional respect in a way.
And also, it's less likely now that there will be a 25th Knoll.
Yeah. And so because I'm looking at that, I think you two have earned a moderate advance.
Ooh.
Wicked.
And the first, and the
I know
campaigns-
exactly what that is too.
And the campaigns first. So yeah, and then we'll go over what the masked options are
Lover's
as well.
Mask.
Lover's Mask.
Straight up. That's the one.
Which Mask of the Lover, you wear an exquisitely beautiful mask gifted only to those who carry themselves with the utmost grace and poise. Plus 2 to your
Sounds
reputation.
perfect for you.
And once per session, if you so choose, an NPC will fall for you. The
Ooh.
GM, tell the GM who it is. And they might still have to fight you, but god damn it if you aren't the one that they are just... That's good.
I love
That's
that.
good. You're, oh, Harvest.
Is this how this is gonna go down?
I've heard about you. Okay. That's it. That's all we have. Looking forward to what happens next. Our next episode, we return to the Vermissian Way with Naros and Jairi as they flee with their Gnoll army in tow. It's the attack on Middle City, battle for Middle City. happens next time. I'm sure you'll put out the fires next time we see you, Joan. We'll just keep lighting them for you.
Amateurs.
and Lysanna, you had to pull some triggers there.
I did.
That was tough.
She was not happy about it.
Nope. Well,
but had to be done.
We'll open up with your next scene is on a chair talking to Toby, therapy session.
Yep.
With Lysanna.
There's a box of tissues. Toby has a terrible time. It's like no words come out of her mouth. It's just sobbing.
This is why there are no therapists in Fantasyland.
Mental health.
What's that?
Roll for cure. We're having a good time here on Spire, and I'm looking forward to the next episode. Thank you for joining us as far as we have. For now, I have been your GM, Justin Ecock, with our masked Liminal,
Joan Morirarity,
and our Vermisian sage, Lysanna.
Cassie D20 loved you.
And until next time when we return to the Spire, be good to each other. Bye.
The Terrible Warriors will return with the 6th episode of our Spire campaign in 2 weeks' time. We're changing our release schedule temporarily to figure out how we're going to handle things with social distancing happening all around us. We have 2 more episodes already recorded, and they're going to get released over the course of April. And at the end of that, we're going to decide if we're going to continue playing the Spire over remote games or take a short break from this story and enjoy some one-shots with our friends. So, to follow along with what we're doing, follow us on Twitter at Dice Warriors. Follow us on Patreon at patreon.com/terriblewarriors. We have made some significant changes to the Patreon page to help it make it a little easier for you during these times. The bonus material and the early access has been lowered to any amount. Any amount at all will gain you early access to these episodes and behind-the-scenes audio that I save. If you're wanting to play in private games with us, well, we're running games with our listeners in the Discord channel free of charge, but if you'd like to take part in the Tip Club, the premium private game where you can be part of the development of this podcast, we've also lowered the cost of that to only $15, and you get to be part of a monthly private game run by me, as well as helping to keep the lights on here at the Terrible Warriors. There are other options in there as well, and if you've got any questions, reach out to me directly. I'm on Twitter at MRECOCK. That's Mr. Ecock. As well as I'm hanging out in our Discord channel every day, and I would love to see you hang out with us as well. We are really coming together as a community, and, well, if you're looking for that, you're welcome to join us. A link to our Discord channel can be found at terriblewarriors.com. On the next episode of our Spire campaign, they escaped from the arena by the skin of their teeth, and now they are lost in the Vermisian Way. Can the sage guide them back to Middle City, or will they all go mad? That, my dear Terrible Warrior, we will find out together on the next episode in 2 weeks' time, right here on the Terrible Warriors.